The rain came down hard over Toronto, but Jimin and BTS refused to let it steal the spotlight. As thousands of ARMY gathered for the first night of the concert, the atmosphere suddenly became intense when the weather turned into an unexpected part of the show. The stage was wet, the lights reflected through the rain, and yet Jimin continued performing with incredible energy. Instead of becoming silent, the crowd became even louder. ARMY screamed, cheered, and raised their light sticks as BTS continued to command the stage. From the moment Jimin appeared, the reaction was immediate. Thousands of voices erupted across the venue, creating an atmosphere that seemed powerful enough to compete with the sound of the rain itself. Every movement, every expression, and every moment on stage was met with an explosion of excitement. Then the rain became heavier. For a moment, the weather threatened to become the biggest challenge of the night. Performing on a wet stage requires concentration, control, and awareness. But rather than allowing the difficult conditions to take away from the performance, Jimin remained focused. He kept moving. He kept performing. And most importantly, he kept connecting with the audience. That was the moment Toronto realized that this was not going to be an ordinary concert night. The rain had arrived, but BTS was not backing down. Jimin's presence became even more captivating under the dramatic stage lights. The falling rain created a cinematic atmosphere around him, while the crowd continued to scream his name. Every time the camera focused on Jimin, another wave of excitement spread through the audience. For ARMY, watching Jimin continue performing under those conditions was unforgettable. The concert was no longer simply about music. It became about the experience. It became about the energy between BTS and their fans. And it became about a group refusing to allow unexpected circumstances to change the spirit of the night. Toronto ARMY had waited for this moment. Many fans had traveled long distances, prepared their outfits, carried their light sticks, learned the songs, and counted down the days until they could finally see BTS perform. Now they were standing there, watching the group perform while rain fell around them. And instead of leaving their energy behind, they gave even more. The louder the rain became, the louder the crowd seemed to become. The louder the music became, the more the venue erupted. And whenever Jimin stepped forward, the screams reached another level. There was something incredibly powerful about that exchange. Jimin performed for the crowd. The crowd responded with overwhelming energy. BTS continued performing. ARMY answered with even louder cheers. It felt like a conversation between the stage and the audience. Only this time, the conversation was happening under the rain. The weather could not be controlled. The clouds could not be moved. The wet stage could not simply disappear. But the energy of the performers and the fans could continue. And that is exactly what happened. Jimin continued to show why he is such a captivating performer. His movements remained expressive and precise, while his facial expressions continued to communicate emotion even from a distance. The rain actually made the visual atmosphere even more dramatic. Stage lights reflected against the water. The performers appeared surrounded by falling droplets. The audience became a sea of glowing light sticks. And in the middle of it all stood Jimin. It was the kind of scene that looked almost unreal. But for the people inside the venue, it was happening right in front of them. The Toronto concert became a moment that fans could experience together. Everyone was dealing with the same weather. Everyone was hearing the same music. Everyone was watching the same stage. And everyone was reacting together. That collective experience is what makes a live BTS concert so powerful. Thousands of people can arrive at the venue as strangers, but once the show begins, they become part of one enormous audience. They sing together. They cheer together. They laugh together. They scream together. And when something unexpected happens, they experience it together. The rain became one of those unexpected moments. Nobody could have planned exactly how it would look. Nobody could have predicted exactly how the audience would react. But once it happened, it became part of the story. And Jimin was right at the center of it. His determination became one of the most memorable parts of the evening. The audience could see that the conditions were not perfect. They could see the rain. They could see the wet stage. But they could also see BTS continuing to give the crowd the performance they had come to see. That effort mattered. It created an even deeper connection between the performers and their fans. Because when fans see an artist continuing to give everything despite difficult circumstances, they feel the commitment. They feel the effort. And they respond. Toronto responded with screams, with cheers, with light sticks, with voices that seemed to rise above the rain. The concert atmosphere became increasingly intense as the night continued. Instead of allowing the weather to dominate the experience, BTS made the music the center of attention. And Jimin continued to command the stage. Every appearance generated another reaction. Every major performance moment brought another wave of cheers. Every interaction with the audience created another emotional connection. For many fans, these were the moments they had been waiting for. Seeing Jimin live, hearing BTS perform, feeling the crowd react, and experiencing something that could never be completely recreated through a screen. That is what makes concerts special. You can watch videos afterward. You can see photographs. You can read reactions. But none of those things can completely reproduce the feeling of standing among thousands of ARMY while BTS performs in front of you. And when the weather becomes part of the experience, the memory becomes even stronger. Years later, fans may still remember the rain. They may remember the stage lights. They may remember the sound of the crowd. They may remember how Jimin looked under the lights. They may remember how everyone screamed when BTS appeared. Those details become part of the story. And Toronto now has its own story. It was the night when the rain arrived. The night when the stage became wet. The night when BTS kept performing. And the night when ARMY refused to stop cheering. Jimin's performance became particularly memorable because he maintained the same sense of focus and confidence. Rain can make choreography more challenging. A wet surface requires additional attention. Performers have to remain aware of their movements while still delivering an engaging performance. But the audience could see that Jimin remained committed to the show. He continued moving with purpose. He continued expressing emotion. And he continued making the crowd feel connected. That connection is perhaps the most important part of any concert. A performer can have incredible production, amazing lights, huge screens, perfect choreography, but the emotional connection between artist and audience is what makes a performance truly memorable. Jimin has a remarkable ability to create that connection. And Toronto responded immediately. The screams became louder. The atmosphere became more electric. The rain became almost secondary. The audience was focused on the stage. And the stage was giving them everything they had hoped for. BTS continued moving through the performance with determination. The members supported one another. The audience supported them. And the concert continued. The longer it went on, the more the rain became part of the identity of the night. It was no longer simply a weather condition. It was part of the memory. Fans could later say that they had seen BTS perform in Toronto in the rain. That alone made the experience unique. Because every concert has its own atmosphere. Every city has its own energy. Every audience reacts differently. And sometimes one unexpected event creates a memory that stays with fans for years. Toronto's rain became that event. It transformed the visual atmosphere. It intensified the emotion. And it gave the concert an unpredictable quality that could not have been planned. Jimin remained one of the strongest focal points throughout the night. Whenever he appeared, the audience reacted. Whenever he performed, cameras captured the moment. And whenever he connected with the crowd, the atmosphere changed. That is the power of stage presence. It is not simply about standing under a spotlight. It is about making thousands of people feel that they are part of the moment. Jimin did that. And Toronto answered. The crowd's energy became almost overwhelming. Thousands of voices filled the venue. The light sticks created a glowing sea across the audience. And the rain continued falling. It created a contrast that made the night feel almost cinematic. Dark skies above. Bright lights below. Rain everywhere. Music filling the air. And BTS at the center. For ARMY, it was unforgettable. The concert became more than a performance. It became an experience they were living through together. The rain also highlighted something important about live performances. Not everything can be controlled. A concert can be rehearsed countless times. Choreography can be practiced. Music can be prepared. Lights can be programmed. But the weather remains unpredictable. When the unexpected happens, performers have to adapt. And audiences get to witness something real. That is what made this night so interesting. It was not perfectly controlled. It was not completely predictable. It was live. And Jimin's ability to continue performing under those circumstances made the moment even more impressive for fans. The crowd understood what they were seeing. They knew the conditions were challenging. And they responded with support. Instead of becoming quiet, they became louder. Instead of losing excitement, they seemed to gain even more. The rain may have made the night physically more difficult, but emotionally, the connection became stronger. There was a sense that everyone was sharing the same experience. BTS was on stage. ARMY was in the crowd. And the rain was falling over everyone. That shared experience created a sense of unity. Nobody could control the weather. But everyone could choose to continue enjoying the moment. And they did. Jimin's performance became one of the clearest examples of that determination. He remained focused on the audience. He continued performing. And he maintained the energy that fans expected from him. The crowd rewarded him with enormous enthusiasm. Every time his name was heard, the response was immediate. Every time he appeared on the big screen, fans screamed. Every major moment became another reason for the audience to celebrate. The Toronto concert therefore became a night of constant energy. There was never a feeling that the rain had completely taken control. The music remained dominant. The performers remained the focus. And the audience remained engaged. That is why the night became memorable. The weather did not ruin the show. It changed the show. And sometimes that is enough to create something special. For fans who were physically present, the experience was probably impossible to forget. They felt the weather. They heard the music. They saw BTS. They watched Jimin perform. They heard thousands of other ARMY screaming around them. All of those sensations became connected. And when they look back at the night, they will likely remember the entire atmosphere rather than just one song. The rain, the lights, the music, the crowd, Jimin, BTS, Toronto. One unforgettable night. As the concert continued, The performers demonstrated that the most important part of a live show is not always perfect conditions. Sometimes it is the willingness to adapt. Sometimes it is the connection with the audience. Sometimes it is simply refusing to give up the energy of the moment. BTS continued. Jimin continued. And ARMY continued cheering. That combination made the rain feel almost powerless. The weather could fall from the sky, but it could not stop the music. It could not stop the fans. And it could not stop Jimin from commanding the stage. The night became a celebration of that spirit. The Toronto crowd had come to see BTS. They wanted memories. And they got one that was far more dramatic than they may have expected. They got rain. They got powerful performances. They got emotional moments. They got an incredible audience atmosphere. And they got Jimin continuing to shine in the middle of it all. The images from such a night naturally become powerful. A performer surrounded by rain. A sea of light sticks. Fans raising their phones. Stage lights reflecting through the water. The members continuing to perform. It creates a visual story without needing words. And that visual story explains why fans would continue talking about the night afterward. The rain gave the concert a unique identity. It made the performance look different. It made the atmosphere feel different. And it gave everyone something to remember. For Jimin, it was another opportunity to demonstrate his professionalism and stage presence. For BTS, it was another night of performing for their fans. For ARMY, it was another memory to treasure. And for Toronto, it was a night when the city became the backdrop for an unforgettable BTS performance. The most powerful part of the night was perhaps the fact that nobody allowed the rain to define their mood. Instead, everyone adapted. The performers adapted. The audience adapted. And the energy remained. That is what makes a great live concert. Not perfection,